You're living the exact same day over and over again, and you don't even realize it. Right now, as you're watching this, there's a version of you that woke up this morning in a penthouse overlooking the city, another version struggling to make rent in a cramped apartment, and yet another who inherited millions and never had to work a day in their life. But it gets even weirder than that. There's a version of you who became a famous musician, one who moved to a different country and speaks fluent Japanese, and another who married your high school crush and has 3 kids. Every morning you wake up with the same thoughts, make the same choices, scroll through the same apps for hours, and wonder why your life feels like a broken record stuck on repeat. You brush your teeth the same way your parents taught you, take the same route to work that GPS suggested months ago, have the same conversations with the same people about the same boring topics, and fall asleep watching the same type of content. But what if I told you that while you're trapped in this endless loop of mediocrity and routine, infinite versions of you are living completely different realities right now? And what if I told you that some people have figured out how to consciously jump between these realities, like changing channels on a TV? Most people accept their current situation as permanent reality, like they're serving a life sentence in a prison they built themselves. They wake up, hit snooze 3 times because they dread starting another identical day, scroll their phone for 20 minutes absorbing other people's highlight reels, grab the same coffee from the same place, sit in the same soul-crushing traffic, and convince themselves this is just how life is supposed to be. They look at successful people living extraordinary lives and immediately think they were just lucky, born different, or had connections. They've been programmed to believe that dramatic life changes are impossible after a certain age. But here's what they don't understand, and what the education system deliberately doesn't teach you. You're not stuck in one fixed reality like you've been brainwashed to believe since childhood. According to cutting-edge quantum physics research that's been intentionally hidden from mainstream education and media, every single decision you make, down to choosing what to eat for breakfast, creates a split in the fabric of reality itself, generating parallel versions of your life where different outcomes play out simultaneously. The version of you experiencing this exact moment right now is just one possibility among literally millions of potential timelines branching out in every direction. Somewhere out there is a version of you who said yes when you said no, who took massive risks when you played it safe, who believed in themselves when you chose self-doubt, who moved to that dream city when you made excuses, who started that business when you convinced yourself you weren't ready. Scientists have been quietly studying something called the many worlds interpretation for decades, but there's a reason they don't want the general public to understand these concepts. This groundbreaking theory, first proposed by physicist Hugh Everett in 1957 and later expanded by quantum mechanics pioneers, suggests that every quantum measurement causes the entire universe to split into multiple branches, where all possible outcomes occur simultaneously in parallel dimensions. While mainstream science debates these world-changing concepts in academic journals hidden behind paywalls, an underground community of researchers, physicists, and consciousness explorers has been secretly experimenting with something they call quantum shifting, the ability to consciously move your awareness between these parallel realities. Recent developments in quantum computing have provided even more compelling evidence that reality isn't the solid, unchangeable thing we were taught to believe. Major tech companies like IBM, Google, and classified government projects are investing billions in quantum research, and some insiders claim they've discovered things about the malleable nature of reality that would completely shatter most people's worldview and sense of what's possible. But this information is being kept classified and away from the public for reasons that should be obvious. Imagine what would happen to society if everyone knew they could consciously shift into better versions of their lives. The rabbit hole gets even deeper when you realize that ancient civilizations might have known about these principles thousands of years ago. Hindu concepts of parallel universes, Buddhist teachings about multiple realities, and indigenous shamanic practices all point to the same fundamental truth. Reality is far more flexible than modern society wants you to believe. Mystery schools throughout history have guarded these secrets, passing them down only to select initiates. Now, for the first time in human history, this knowledge is becoming available to anyone willing to challenge everything they thought they knew about the nature of existence. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is the part that separates the people who stay stuck in mediocrity from those who completely transform their entire existence. Quantum shifting isn't about changing your external world through some magical process or wishful thinking. It's about fundamentally shifting your identity, your core beliefs, and your subconscious programming to match the reality you want to experience. Think of it this way. Right now, somewhere in the infinite quantum field, there's a version of you who made radically different choices 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. They developed completely different habits, adopted empowering beliefs about what's possible for someone like them. And now they're living the exact life you fantasize about when you can't sleep at night. The technique that's been passed down through select communities and underground networks involves using advanced visualization techniques, subconscious reprogramming methods, and consciousness-altering practices to align your awareness with that specific version of yourself. Practitioners claim you can literally step into a new timeline by changing how you perceive yourself, your possibilities, and your relationship to reality itself. But it requires completely destroying your old identity first, and most people aren't psychologically prepared for that level of transformation. The process isn't pretty, and it's definitely not for people who want comfortable, gradual change. First, you have to become brutally honest about why you're living the reality you're currently experiencing, which means taking full responsibility for every aspect of your life without making excuses. Most people can't handle this level of self-reflection because it means admitting that their current circumstances, their relationships, their income, their health, their happiness level, are the direct result of thousands of small choices and limiting beliefs they've been carrying around like invisible chains for years or even decades. Then comes what practitioners call the identity death phase. You have to let go of every story you've told yourself about who you are, what you're capable of, what you deserve, and what's realistic for someone with your background. This feels like psychological death to most people, which is why they give up before they see any real results. Your ego will fight this process with everything it has because it interprets change as a threat to survival. The final phase involves embodying the new identity so completely, so authentically, that your subconscious mind literally cannot tell the difference between the old you and the new you. You have to think, feel, act, and move through the world as if you've already shifted into your desired reality. What makes this even more challenging is that you can't fake your way through the process. Your subconscious mind can detect inauthenticity instantly, which is why positive affirmations and surface-level visualization techniques fail for most people. You have to genuinely become a different person at the deepest psychological level. This means changing not just your thoughts, but your emotional patterns, your physical posture, your breathing, your daily routines, your relationships, and even your environment. Everything in your current reality that reinforces your old identity has to be systematically dismantled and rebuilt. The scientific community is not just split down the middle on this. There's an actual war being fought behind the scenes, and the controversy is getting more heated every year. Traditional physicists argue there's absolutely no empirical evidence for consciousness-driven reality shifting, dismissing it as wishful thinking, confirmation bias, or psychological self-deception designed to make people feel better about their failures. They claim that quantum mechanics only applies to subatomic particles, not macroscopic human experiences. But here's what they don't want to acknowledge, and what's causing panic in academic circles. Supporters point to legitimate quantum mechanics principles, like superposition, wave function collapse, quantum entanglement, and observer effect, as potential mechanisms for consciousness directly affecting physical reality. Some researchers, including multiple Nobel Prize winners, have publicly suggested that consciousness itself might play a much bigger role in shaping physical reality than mainstream science is willing to admit. The controversy has been brewing for years, with both sides refusing to engage in honest dialogue because too much is at stake. Meanwhile, tech billionaires, Hollywood elites, and world leaders have been quietly hiring quantum consciousness coaches, reality-shifting specialists, and consciousness researchers for private sessions. Why do you think certain people seem to live in completely different realities than the rest of us? Why do some individuals consistently manifest opportunities, synchronicities, and breakthroughs while others struggle with the same problems for decades? There are rumors that certain government agencies have been studying these phenomena since the 1970s, conducting classified experiments on remote viewing, consciousness-based reality manipulation, and quantum consciousness applications. Some whistleblowers claim that advanced civilizations might already be using these principles for everything from healing to manifestation to interdimensional communication. But this information remains heavily classified because the implications would fundamentally disrupt existing power structures. Here's where most people completely mess this up, and why 99% of attempts fail miserably. They treat quantum shifting like some kind of magic trick or get-rich-quick scheme instead of the serious, life-altering identity transformation process it actually is. They watch a few YouTube videos made by people who don't understand the deeper principles, visualize their dream life for 5 minutes while lying in bed scrolling their phone, expect instant results like they're ordering something on Amazon, and give up when nothing changes after a week or two. They want their external circumstances to magically transform while keeping the exact same mindset, habits, beliefs, and emotional patterns that created their current reality in the first place. It's like expecting to arrive at a different destination while continuing to drive in the same direction. The real process requires completely rewiring your subconscious beliefs about who you are, what you're capable of, what you deserve, and what's actually possible for your life. It's not about wishful thinking, positive affirmations, or pretending everything is fine. It's about becoming the type of person who naturally, effortlessly lives in your desired reality, because that's simply who they are at their core. Most failures happen because people try to shift their circumstances while desperately clinging to their victim identity, their limiting beliefs about money, relationships, success, and their need to complain about how unfair life is. The people who succeed at this treat it like a full-time job for months or even years. They study consciousness. They practice advanced meditation techniques. They work with coaches. They completely restructure their daily routines. They cut toxic people out of their lives, and they invest thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours into their transformation. They understand that shifting into a better reality requires becoming someone their current self wouldn't even recognize. But there's a much darker side to this that nobody wants to discuss, and the silence around these risks is actually terrifying when you dig deeper. Some practitioners report feeling completely disconnected from their original reality, like they're living someone else's life in a body that doesn't feel like their own. They experience what they call reality glitches, moments where they can't remember important details from their past, or they remember major life events differently than everyone else around them, including family members and close friends. Others become dangerously obsessed with shifting, constantly chasing better and better timelines instead of ever finding peace or satisfaction with any reality. They lose touch with friends and family because they no longer relate to their old life or the people in it. Some report that their loved ones seem like completely different people after a shift, with altered personalities, different memories, or changed life paths. There are deeply disturbing accounts of people who claim they successfully shifted to what appeared to be a better timeline, but can't find their way back to their original reality, and now they're trapped in a life that feels foreign, empty, or somehow wrong despite being everything they thought they wanted. Some report memory issues, identity confusion, chronic dissociation, and a constant feeling that something is fundamentally wrong with their reality, or that they don't belong in the life they're living. Whether these experiences are legitimate quantum phenomena or severe psychological side effects, they highlight the potential dangers of messing with your fundamental sense of identity and reality without proper preparation or guidance. The most disturbing cases involve people who shifted too quickly without properly preparing their subconscious mind or processing their psychological baggage first. They report experiencing what researchers in the underground community call timeline displacement disorder, a condition where they feel like they're living in the wrong reality, watching their life like a movie instead of participating in it. Some wake up in what appears to be their dream life, the perfect relationship, the ideal career, the financial freedom they always wanted, but feel completely empty inside, like they're experiencing someone else's emotions through thick glass. Others find that their relationships feel hollow and artificial because they remember different versions of events than their loved ones. Their spouse might remember their first date happening at a different restaurant, their children might have slightly different personalities, or their parents might have made different life choices that the shifter remembers happening differently. This creates a profound sense of isolation, grief, and psychological vertigo that some describe as worse than their original problems. There are unconfirmed reports from the quantum shifting underground of people who shifted to realities where their loved ones have fundamentally different personalities, life paths, or even physical appearances. Some claim they shifted to timelines where deceased family members are alive, but with completely different relationships and memories. Others report shifting to realities where they have different children, different spouses, or different parents. The psychological trauma of losing your original family and relationships, even if your new ones appear better on the surface, has driven some practitioners to severe depression and, in extreme cases, thoughts of self-harm. The underground quantum shifting community has started implementing strict safety protocols, including psychological screening, preparation periods, gradual shifting techniques, and integration support. But many solo practitioners are still experimenting without understanding the psychological, emotional, or spiritual risks involved. Some communities have reported practitioners who shifted successfully but returned, claiming that certain realities are cursed or trapped, and that they encountered versions of themselves or others that were disturbing or malevolent. There are also reports of what some call shifting addiction, people who become so dissatisfied with any single reality that they constantly shift between timelines, never building meaningful relationships or accomplishments because they always believe there's a better version available. They become reality tourists, sampling different lives but never fully committing to any single existence. So what's the actual truth about quantum shifting? And why are some people desperately trying to keep this information suppressed, while others are working overtime to discredit it? While we can't definitively prove that parallel realities exist, or that human consciousness can hop between them like changing radio stations, the techniques themselves, advanced visualization, identity work, subconscious reprogramming, belief system reconstruction, and consciousness expansion practices, are legitimate psychological and spiritual tools that have been used by top performers, ancient mystics, and consciousness researchers for decades or even centuries. Whether you're actually shifting between quantum realities or just rewiring your brain for success using cutting-edge principles from neuroscience, cognitive psychology, and consciousness research, the end result might be exactly the same: a completely transformed life experience. The real question isn't whether quantum shifting is scientifically valid according to current academic standards. It's whether you're brave enough to challenge every assumption you've ever made about what's possible for your life. And more importantly, whether you're willing to let your old identity completely die so a new version of you can be born from the ashes. And here's the thing that might disturb you the most. Once you start down this path, there's absolutely no going back to believing that your current reality is permanent, fixed, or the only option available to you. You'll start noticing synchronicities everywhere. You'll see evidence of reality's malleability in ways that will make your old worldview seem childish and limiting. And you'll realize that most people are sleepwalking through an existence they don't even realize they have the power to change. The choice is yours. But remember this: every single moment you spend watching this video, thinking about whether this information is real or not, there's a version of you in another timeline who already made the decision to change everything and is now living the life you fantasize about during your lowest moments. They're not smarter than you. They're not more talented. They don't have better opportunities. They just decided to stop accepting limitations as permanent reality. How much longer are you going to let them live the life you dream about while you stay trapped in the same old patterns, making the same excuses, and waiting for someone else to give you permission to transform? The quantum field is infinite and waiting, but your current version of reality won't wait forever. Every day you delay is another day that better version of you gets further ahead, building the life you could be living right now.